Once upon a time, deep in the Himalayas north of India, in the mountain of Kailash, lived the god of destruction, Shiva, and his beautiful wife, known as Parvati. They lived peacefully amongst themselves in the forest and had many attendants known as Ganas. One day, Parvati was taking a shower, and she requested her favorite Gana, Nandi, who had the head of a bull and the body of a man, to stand at the door of her palace and keep guard over it. Parvati told Nandi, "I'm going to have my bath. Please do not let anyone enter and disturb me." A little later, Shiva came near. Nandi was in a dilemma upon seeing him. He said to himself, "What should I do now? How can I stop him from entering his own home?" Shiva broke into the palace and arrived in Parvati's chambers. Parvati stared at him in shock. She thought to herself, "How could he have entered when I had let Nandi protect the gates and guard over it?" Parvati replied by saying, "Nandi has disobeyed me. You may be my husband, but he had no right to let you enter." Shiva responded by laughing. Shiva was amused, but Parvati was annoyed. She thought to herself, "I must have a Gana of my own who will obey only me." She spoke to her friends about it. They told her, "You are right, Parvati. None of the Ganas can really be called your own." One of them had an idea. "Why don't you create a Gana who will owe first allegiance to you?" Parvati replied, "A good suggestion, I shall." She gathered the saffron paste from her own body and created a boy. When she finished, she gazed in admiration at her own creation. "How handsome he is! How strong he looks!" She decked him with ornaments and blessed him. Then she said, "You are my son, my very own son. I have none else to call my own." Ganesha responded, "Command me, mother. What should I do?" She told him, "Take this staff and follow me." She led him to the door. She told him, "Stand here and let no one enter without my permission." A little later, Shiva came to the palace, and he said, "Who could that boy be? I have never seen him before." To Shiva's astonishment, the youth barred his way. He said, "Halt! No one enters without my mother's permission." Shiva was taken aback. He said, "Foolish boy, do you know who I am? Move out of my way." Without uttering a word, the youth struck Shiva with his staff. Shiva was furious. He said, "Fool, I am Shiva, Parvati's husband. How dare you forbid me to enter my own home?" But the youth only raised his staff and hit Shiva once again. Shiva turned to his Ganas in anger. "Who is that fool? What is he doing there? Throw him out immediately and report to me when you do." Shiva left in frustration, and the Ganas turned upon the youth. The boy said, "Leave, all of you, or you will receive a taste of my valor." The Ganas responded, "You leave from here if you value your life. You seem to forget that we are Shiva's Ganas." The youth stood still for a while. He was confused. He thought to himself, "Shiva is my mother's husband. What should I do? Should I fight them, or shouldn't I? Who should I follow?" Meanwhile, indoors, Parvati had heard the commotion, and she sent her friend to find out what happened. The friend soon returned. "They are threatening your son. Please don't allow them to lower your prestige in this way." Parvati hesitated for a moment, thinking, "Shiva is after all my husband. What should I do? Why did he try to force his way in? That's not right. Let what has to happen, happen." She sent her friend out again. "Tell my son not to give in to anyone," she commanded. The friend came out. "Gentle sir, your mother says that you should never let anyone enter." The boy, no longer in doubt, turned to the Ganas and proclaimed, "I am the son of Parvati. You are the Ganas of Shiva. You must carry out his orders, and I will carry out mine. I repeat, Shiva shall not enter without my mother's permission." Now the Ganas were doubtful. "He is Parvati's son. What should we do? Would Shiva still want us to throw him out?" They reported to Shiva. "Lord, it is Parvati's own son who refuses to let you in," they told him. Shiva thought to himself, Alas, Parvati, you have gone too far. You have left me with no other alternative. If I tell my Ganas to withdraw, it will be said that I was subservient to my wife. My Ganas will have to fight him. He turned to his Ganas and told them, all of you are my own, including Parvati's son, so a battle may not seem proper to you. But if we don't accept the challenge, we may go misunderstood. Go, fight and defeat him. It should be easy. The Ganas went before the boy, following the orders of Lord Vishnu. But the boy was unfazed upon seeing them. The Ganas rushed towards him. Nandi grabbed his legs, but he defeated them all. Then he seized a club and whirled it about, hitting all of them. Many of the Ganas fell. The rest fled as fast as they could. The boy once again took his post at the door. Meanwhile, when Brahma, Vishnu, and Indra heard the uproar, they talked the matter over with sage Narada, who was known as the messenger of the gods. He told them, go to Lord Shiva, he may need you. Brahma, Vishnu, and Indra all went before Lord Shiva, begging him for guidance in this urgent matter. Shiva was angered, and he told them, how dare that boy prevent me from entering my own home? He commanded Brahma to go forth and bring the boy under his control. Brahma had the clever idea of going as a Brahmin in disguise, and accompanied by many sages, Brahma left on this mission. As they reached near him, the youth suddenly jumped forward and grabbed the beard of the elderly man. That should teach you a lesson, he yelled. Brahma was then taken by surprise. I have not come to fight, dear boy. I have come to make peace. Listen to me, he beseeched. As an answer, the youth lifted his club and glared at them all, scaring them away. Run! I shall never fail my mother, yelled the boy. Meanwhile, the sages ran to Shiva in fear. Shiva said, this matter has gone too far. The boy must be destroyed. He sent for his son Kartikeya and Indra, the king of the Devas, and he commanded them, lead your Ganas and Devas to war. Vanquish this impudent upstart immediately. The Devas, led by Indra, and the Ganas by Kartikeya, fell upon the boy from all directions, but the boy faced them valiantly. Meanwhile, Parvati learned of all this that had happened, and she was furious. How dare they harass my son, she exclaimed. Then and there she created the two Shaktis, Kali and Durga. She told them, go and assist my son. Kali stood between the boy and the enemy, opening her mouth wide. She swallowed their weapons whole and hurled them back. Durga took the form of lightning and destroyed the enemy's weapons before they could reach the boy. Between the two of them, they did not let a single weapon come anywhere near the boy's swinging club. Indra and his devas were completely routed. Even Kartikeya, who had killed the invincible Tarakasura, was helpless. They held council. What should we do? Let us go back to Shiva, they all exclaimed. O Lord, we have seen and heard many battles, but never have we seen or heard of such a warrior, they exclaimed. Their praise only infuriated Shiva. I will have to kill him with my own hands, he said. Shiva thundered out, followed by all of them. Unaffected by the sight of Shiva, the boy attacked. All the chief gods, one by one, fell to the ground. As Shiva watched him fight, he was amazed. He is invincible. He can only be killed by the cunning. I must wait and watch for an opportunity, he thought to himself. The same thought had struck Vishnu too, and he spoke to Shiva about this. I shall use my powers of delusion to fight him, if you permit me, said Vishnu. You may. That is the only way, said Shiva. But Kali and Durga understood the intentions of Shiva and Vishnu. Kali asked, what should we do? And Durga said, let us focus all of our strength on the boy. Then even Vishnu's Maya will prove to be ineffective. With the added strength of the two Shaktis, the boy swung his club at Vishnu, and Vishnu had to use all of his energy to dodge it. Shiva saw his plight and charged with his trident. But the boy dashed the trident to the ground. Shiva took up his bow as fast as he could, but the boy dashed it to the ground with his club in one shot. Shiva stared at the boy in horror and amazement. No wonder my Ganas were this helpless. He finally understood that this was no ordinary boy. The next moment, Vishnu came riding in on his Garuda. The boy lifted his club, but it was cut in two by Vishnu's discus. The boy hurled the piece that was left in his hand, but Vishnu's mount Garuda caught it and protected his master. Then, as the boy picked up the staff to hit Vishnu for a final time, Shiva came up from behind and cut off his head in one slash. For a moment, all of the people on the scene, the Devas and the Ganas, stood still, their gaze fixed on the valiant hero. Then the Devas and the Ganas became jubilant, worry-free. But Shiva was troubled. Suddenly he realized, oh no, what have I done? How will I ever face my wife Parvati? She was the one who created him. That made him my son too. What have I done? He thought to himself. Meanwhile, when Parvati learnt of her son's death, her wrath was immense. She was so angry. She proclaimed that my son was killed by unfair means. For this and this alone, all the Devas and the Ganas will die. She was angry, and the entire earth and heavens felt the power of her proclamation. Out of her fury, she created hundreds and thousands of Shaktis, energies of herself that would carry out her plans for the world. And they asked her, "O Mother, what is your command?" She told them, "Destroy all the Devas and Ganas, devour them." The Shaktis immediately set about carrying her commands. Brahma and Vishnu were terrified, and they realized to themselves that they had made a grave mistake and Parvati had to be appeased, or the whole universe would be destroyed. Vishnu and Brahma ran before the goddess Parvati and begged her for forgiveness. She had a mother's heart, a soft heart, and upon seeing their miserable state and condition, she said, "I will forgive you. But first, my son must regain his life and must have an honorable status among you. That is my condition." Vishnu and Brahma went before Shiva and put the conditions before him. Shiva thought about this and he agreed. "It shall be done. For the sake of peace and happiness, we shall do this. Go north and bring the head of the first creature that crosses your path, and fit the head to the boy's body. It will come to life," he commanded. They came across a single-tusked elephant that met them. They brought the head back and fitted it to the body of the boy, and the boy sat up. Delighted, they showed him to Parvati, but she was only partially appeased. She asked, "What about his status?" At that moment, Indra and the other gods led Shiva to her. Shiva bowed before Parvati. "Forgive me, Parvati. Arrogance is the characteristic of the male. This valiant youth shall be another son of mine." Then Shiva placed his hand on the boy's head. He proclaimed, "Even as a mere boy you showed great valor. You shall be called Ganesha, the presiding officer of all of my Ganas. You shall be worthy of worship forever. You shall also be called Vigneshvara, the queller of obstacles."